We now need to crochet 2 ears. Start with a magic ring. Then crochet 5 single crochets into the ring. Instead of joining with a slip stitch, chain 1. One chain stitch. Then start crocheting the first single crochet. For the second stitch, insert your hook. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over again, and draw through both loops on the hook to complete the second single crochet. Continue with the third, fourth, and fifth single crochets in the same way. After crocheting 5 single crochets, chain 1. Then pull the yarn through the chain and the loop on the hook to secure and fasten off, leaving a tail. Let's tighten it up here. First, pull this short thread. There are 2 wires here. Pulling on this short thread, you can see it's this line that's active. Then let's tighten this line. Continuing to pull. 1 ear, crocheted. Crochet another ear in the same way. We're ready to attach the ears now. You can also use hot melt glue to attach the ears. Ensure you've oriented them correctly. The angle should look like this, with the front facing as intended. Don't mistakenly reverse it. The proper alignment has the front of the ear at this angle. You can proceed to sew on the ear by locating the top of the head. And positioning the ear at these 2 spots indicated. Alright, let's begin the sewing process. Take out your sewing needle. Begin by attaching the first ear. Use the longer piece of yarn for sewing, while the shorter one can be tucked away neatly and trimmed off. Only 1 thread is needed for sewing. Conceal it at the back, threading it through previous stitches if possible. He's quite flexible. Just ensure it's securely hidden. There's no strict stitching method for this part. Once secured, trim the excess with the long thread. Proceed to sew the ear onto the designated spot, ensuring the front and back sides of the ear align properly. Remember, the side where you hit the ends is the back, and the front should face you. There's no prescribed sewing technique here either. Feel free to follow your own preference as long as it firmly attaches the ear in place. Just need to secure it to the top. Upon finishing a ear, tuck away the remaining thread. Choose a single strand to weave in. It's crucial to work with just one thread to avoid any black, assuming the thread color matches the example context showing on the panda's face. If it does become visible, you'd need to undo and redo it. Tie a knot. Trim the excess thread. Using the same approach, proceed to attach the second ear. First, conceal the short end of the yarn at the back. The process of hiding the thread is flexible. Just ensure it's woven into the stitches securely. Trim off the extra thread once it's well hidden. Sew it in the same way in a symmetrical position. When sewing, be cautious to prevent any black thread from being visible on the exterior, especially for a panda where contrast would be noticeable. Panda's ear stitched up. Trim the threads. Hide the line. Pick only a single wire. This will not so easily expose the black threads to the front of the panda. Tie a knot. Here's the inside. So it doesn't matter if the threads are a little long. Panda's ear stitched up. We'll now sew up the panda's features. Leave the thread out for 2 crochet stitches. Using black thread. I've placed pins to mark the spots. You can do the same to find the right positions. Thread your needle and commence sewing. The panda's facial expression is now crocheted. Tuck the yarn at the back. Tie a gentle knot here. Not too tight, just light. Trim the excess thread. Our panda's facial features are complete. Next, it's time to attach the blush to its cheeks. Now, let's attach the blush. Take out the pink thread. You could skip the blush if you prefer. As before, leave a length equivalent to the width of 2 crochet hooks. Sew the blush beneath the eye, estimating a similar distance. Leave a small section here, holding the thread in place with your finger. The blush is now attached. Next, gently tie a slip knot with the inner thread without pulling it tight. Doing so could distort the blush shape. We may trim this thread a bit shorter. The blush attachment is now complete. Take the black yarn. Now this is the white line. Here is the end of R10. You haven't reached R11 yet. At the end of R10, replace the white line with a black line. Press the black yarn against the back side. The black wire here is a composite of 2 strands for demonstration purposes only. You can still use a single black wire. Then, slip stitch. Chain 1. Crochet 52 single crochets in the same manner as before. Mark on the first stitch. Completing 52 stitches for this round. Here's a tip for hiding the carried yarn at the back. Lay the yarn over the hook. This technique allows you to carry the yarn along invisibly. Repeating the process. This eliminates the need for separately weaving in ends later on. Continue this throughout the round until you have crocheted a total of 52 single crochets. The 52nd single crochet. Slip stitch into the stitch marker location. Chain 1. Round 12 continues with crocheting 52 single crochets. Rounds 11 through 13 inclusive all consist of crocheting 52 single crochets each round. Be sure to place a stitch marker on the first stitch of every round to keep track. After completing 52 single crochets in round 13, slip stitch to finish off. Introduce the white yarn, pressing it neatly to the back side. Transition into round 14 with white. Slip stitch with the white yarn. Then chain 1 to start the new round. Crochet 3 single crochets, with the first one being in the stitch where the stitch marker is located, to efficiently carry the yarns while hiding them. Place both strands, the old and the new color, on your hook before making the first single crochet stitch. This is the first single crochet stitch with the white yarn. After the first single crochet, place a stitch marker. Continue with 2 more single crochets. Followed by an increased stitch, which involves crocheting 2 single crochets in the same stitch hole. One increase is now complete. Next, crochet 8 single crochets. Then the pattern of 3 single crochets, 1 increase. Repeat this sequence 3 times in total. For the first set, 3 single crochets. An increase. Then 3 single crochets. Repeat this set 2 more times for the second and third repeats. Five single crochets. Then repeat the pattern of 3 single crochets and increase 2 single crochets in the same stitch, followed by 3 more single crochets for 2 sets total. Finish the second set and slip stitch into the stitch marker location. For round 5, you will crochet 33 single crochets in total. Placing a stitch marker on the first single crochet you make. Crochet 33 single crochets in total. After crocheting 33 single crochets, chain 13. Then skip the next 13 stitches. SK stands for skip. Continue crocheting 12 single crochets. slip, chain 1. For our 16 to our 17, crochet a total of 58 single crochets in each round. We've reached this point. Elect a single strand from the side and continue crocheting with it. Finish crocheting this round. When reaching the normal stitch pattern, proceed to crochet standard single crochets, picking up 2 strands of yarn. Finish the last SC, then slip. Chain 1. Our 17 still crochet 58 SC. Having reached this point, continue with the regular method, working through 2 strands as usual. Finish the last SC, slip. Chain 1. 7 single crochets. Place a stitch marker on the first stitch. Then work and increase 2 single crochets in the same stitch. Followed by 5 single crochets. Continue with 3 sets as follows: 7 single crochets, then an increase. Afterwards, crochet 5 single crochets, followed by 2 sets of 7 single crochets and an increase. Slip ended our 18.